Thank you. So my name is Jakub, and you can, if you're interested, I'm not a very interesting person. If you want interesting facts about me, you can probably go to Solidcraft EU and find all of this there. From the perspective of this presentation, the interesting part is that for the last 12 years, can we turn off the music? I will start singing at some point, and I'm not very good at singing.
I don't believe you. Give it a try.
So for the last 12 years, if you woke me up in the middle of the night and you would ask me, Jakub, who are you? Then I would probably say what? And then the next time I would say I'm a software developer. And even if you ask me during the daytime, I will also answer that I'm a software developer. And sometimes during very good days, I would even tell you that I'm an engineer. But not a single time I would say that I'm a manager. Yet I'm here talking to you guys about something about management. So how did that happen out of the sudden? So let's start from the beginning, chapter 2, which is why last year, exactly a year ago, I joined for finance as a software architect. And there were two major reasons why I joined for finance. First of all, I talked with the guys, and I've learned that the kind of problem, and I had my insiders there, so I knew what's going on. And I knew that the kind of problem that they have is going to be solved very well with something that I'm very interested in the solution that I'm very interested in gathering more experience in, okay? So it was like interesting from this perspective, and also because the guy that was hiring me was 8 years, I think, younger than I am, and was still, and it was impressive. His knowledge was impressive, and I'm not an easy person to impress. So I joined the company, and on the third week of my work, the guy got fired who hired me, right? And if you think that this is something strange, during the last 12 years of my work, this is the second time when I join a company and the guy gets fired. And the first time was even worse because the guy got fired even before I joined the company, and they didn't expect me to come. Right? And what does it teach you? The first thing is that the lessons that I had, first of all, was that dead men cannot help their teams. And I was really counting on working with that guy, and now he's gone. Okay? What happens next? And the second thing is that even though the guy was very, very smart, he didn't see something. And this thing got him killed. So this talk will be about things that are going to get you killed, or may get you killed, if you are ever becoming a manager. From a developer perspective, okay? So there I am. I'm sitting there at the company thinking about what to do next, because the guy I wanted to work for doesn't work there anymore, and the thing I wanted to implement to solve the problem will probably not be possible because I need the support from all the sides, from the management, all the other sides. And what to do next? And because the company was growing very fast, all of a sudden I get the proposal there that, you know what? The Polish branch is actually, we want the Polish branch to grow by 5. We want you to have from 10 to 50 people. And we need somebody to take care of them. Can you do that? Because we think you can do that. And I was completely puzzled. What should I do? I mean, like, this looks, I don't feel like a manager. I'm a software developer. You wake me up in the middle of the night, I'm a software developer, right? What should I do there? And one of those guys that I was there, because it's much easier to actually leave the company and find another company, especially in Warsaw. And in Warsaw there's a lot of good companies there, and go there and work there and do the kind of job that I like doing. And then a guy, a friend of mine who was actually working with me, asked me, you know what? So how about your last company? Was it good? And I said, yeah, it is actually awesome. It's an awesome company. It's just that I couldn't have like this. I couldn't have this solution that I wanted to work on my last company. And he said, yeah, but you worked there for a long time, 6 years, right? Right. Was it so good when you started? And I said, well, actually no. We made it so awesome. By we, I mean all the developers. We were working very, very hard on making this a very good company. So why do you give up now, on the very beginning? Why do you give up at the very beginning? And I realized he is correct, he's true. Giving up now would be something new for me. It would be like giving up without a fight. If I am going to get killed, at least I can try to do something good. before they kill me actually, or I do something really stupid and then they kill me, because that's usually how it works. Okay? And I was very, at the very first half of the year, or maybe even the whole first year, I wasn't very happy with what I was doing, because I was still thinking about myself like, I'm an engineer, I'm a software developer, and now I have to do what? Sign papers, or, I don't know, explain to people why they don't care, do something or whatever else. Bullshit, right? And it turns out that Rod Johnson, the father of Spring Framework, the most famous framework in the Java world ever, had exactly the same situation. He was pushed to the management level and didn't like it. Same thing with Jürgen Appello, the guy who wrote Management 3.0. He was pushed as an engineer, he was pushed to the management level, and he didn't like it as well. And those guys are very good managers, but also very good, actually I don't know about Jürgen, but Rod Johnson was pretty good developer as well, right? So at least, even if I'm not a developer anymore, and I feel bad about it, at least I'm in a good company there. Okay, so first thing you do, what do you do first thing when you are in a situation like this? You are a developer and then they tell you you're a manager now. What do you do? The same thing with new languages, for example. You have to read them, right? You have to read something. You have to learn all the theory behind it before you gather an experience. And there is actually a very good book. There is a lot of good books about management. But if you have to read just one, pick this one, Management 3.0. Now, the reason why this book is so good is, first of all, it's fresh, 2011, I think. And then, it's written by a very smart guy, and also by a developer who became a manager, and he wrote a book just for this type of people. And also, because this book has got 10 pages of list of sources, and most of those sources are scientific research. So even if you do not agree with the guy, you will have a lot of information to dig through, to learn something, and to make your mind about something, okay? But I'm not going to actually present this book, because you can read the book yourself, or you invite Jürgen Appello, because he's like going all over the place. What I'm going to tell you about is that the first misconception I had about what I'm going to do there in this company was that I know how a good software company works. I used to work in that. And now I have this situation that we have here, and I know kind of like what we need to do to get there, right? So I'm going to build the system, and I won't be needed anymore because the company will run by itself. I just know what to fix, how to streamline some processes, and then I'll be able to go back and start actually programming again, right? That was the concept I had. It turned out to be complete bullshit. Now, why did it turn out to be complete bullshit? That's because actually the company, or if you are managing any kind of people, any kind of like organization, then this is a complex system. And there is a great theory about complex systems, and one of the things about them is you cannot predict them with 100% accuracy. Which means that whatever kind of automated system you're going to build will at some point fail unless it's an artificial intelligence, right? And to explain to you how it works, imagine this situation. Me and my girlfriend in the bedroom. It's a very simple system, right? It's easy to understand, just 3 elements. Me, my girlfriend in the bedroom. However, it is a complex system because no matter what I think about it, I cannot with 100% accuracy predict what we are going to do there, and I indeed am often surprised. So this is the kind of a situation that you have in complex systems. Now, picture this. Now, the Go game, I suppose you know the game, is a game of full, complete and perfect information. You know everything. However, even today, nobody is able to write a program that will beat the Go masters. You can do that with chess, but you can do that with Go, because it's such a complex game. And the business itself, when you're managing anything, is actually a massive online multiplayer game with a changing rule set and partial information. You don't have all the information, and they are like nerfing characters and upgrading characters all the time, and changing rules. It's crazy. So no matter what, you will not be able to construct an automated system unless it's artificial intelligence. So what does it mean? It means also that because all the rules change all the time, there are no silver bullets, okay? There are models for what works. There are some solutions that this works here sometimes, but in your very case, it may differ. And there are no silver bullets there. You have to experiment, observe, listen, and adapt, which is exactly what Agile guys do, right? And this means that this talk is not a tutorial, it's a case study. And some of these things may apply or may not apply to you. So let's talk about the first thing that is going to get you killed. Now, first thing is politics and communication, because we, developers as a group, are the most shitty group ever about communication, okay? We are the worst. There's not a worse group than developers there.
Sysadmins.
Sorry?
Sysadmins.
Once again?
System administrators are worse.
Okay, all right. IT people, all right? We are really good. We are really bad. They even make movies about us, right? IT crowd or something. So anyways, and what is politics? Politics is when you have a lot of people with different goals driving the same organization into different directions, okay? And the funny thing about politics is that whatever you do, it doesn't end well. Because if you look at the government of any country, you will see that they are fighting all the time. There is so much shitty things happening in the government, and the same happens in organizations, right? There are politics because there are people pushing in different directions. And I don't like politics. Anybody here who likes politics, actually? Not really. Oh, one person, great. So I don't like politics because I have 12 years of experience in IT, but I have even more experience playing volleyball. And I started playing volleyball even earlier than I started actually programming. And the funny thing about volleyball is that you have one goal and you work as a team. And there are no more goals. There is no politics included. And I kind of like that. However, the problem is that even if I was about to hire only people who are thinking like me, it's not going to help because the organization is big. And if you ignore politics, you are going to get played by people who understand politics. In other words, they are going to use you, and you will not understand why and how. So it's better to understand at least basics about politics, even if, like me, you hate politics. So here are a few practical lessons. The first one is for direct. I am a very direct person. I'm so direct, actually, that the feedback from this talk was that I shouldn't use the F word so much. And yeah. So the first lesson is this. Before you talk, think about what goal you want to achieve and whether what you say will bring you closer to the goal or in the opposite direction. Now I'll give you an example for that. Compare this. You are in a meeting, okay, with all the managers, architects, whoever else. And there is one guy who has got an idea, and this idea, because it's your area of expertise, is completely stupid. You know that it's not going to work, and also it will waste a lot of time and effort, and people will get pissed off by this idea. So what do you think you will say? The thing that comes over to your mind automatically is this. This idea is completely stupid and impossible to implement without teams. This idea is bad, and you should feel bad. This is what you want to say to the guy. But what will happen if you do this? If you do this, you will get excused from the meeting. And the guy who actually proposed the idea has even a bigger chance of actually implementing this idea because you are no longer there to question his ideas, right? So what is your goal, really? Your goal is not to waste time on actually fighting for this idea, on actually trying to implement this. This is your goal. And if you say this, you will achieve an opposite effect. What you should do is you should say this. It's an interesting idea, but I have doubts whether it sets our situation. Can you create a proof of concept for that? Now, notice this. Everybody can have doubts, and it makes sense to have doubts, especially if you are an expert in this matter, right? And other people will listen to you when you have doubts. Doubting is a good thing. So the question there is for the guy who actually proposed the idea, can you create a proof of concept for that? If this is impossible, the guy will not be able to create the proof of concept, and the idea is killed automatically, right? Win. However, if you are wrong, and he can prove that this is possible, maybe you're not so much an expert on this matter at all, or maybe you're just playing wrong and he's just great, right? And in both situations, it's a win for you. And it's just a matter of communication and thinking about what I want to achieve and how, if what I'm going to tell you is going to bring me closer to the goal or not. Second lesson is the lesson for simple people. And I'm a very simple person, really. And the lesson is this: everyone has an agenda. And if you want to cooperate with somebody, you have to learn what the other party wants and use it. You have to align their goal and your goal together. And then you will have perfect cooperation. An example I have is this. I joined this, sorry Microsoft, I've joined this company and everybody was using Windows there. And to be honest, also not only Windows, not a single developer had a root account. They call it administrator account, I think, in the Windows world, right? Not a single developer had a root account, and not a single developer was allowed to install any software on his own computer. Now, that sounds like bullshit, right? Everybody who's doing any JVM work knows that actually Windows is the worst possible operating system for actually developing, right? Windows is probably only good for .NET work, I think. C# work, perhaps C++ sometimes, but for JVM, terrible. So I've asked the guys, after I got pissed off by trying for 2 days to ask them to actually install something on my computer, I actually got really angry. So I went to the security guys and said, you know what? I want to use Linux, and I want all the other guys who want to use Linux to be able to use Linux in our company. And they said, well, sorry, no, because you are in our network, and the security thing is that if you have a network and you have devices there, and if there are some devices that you do not control, then actually you have a security breach or a potential security breach, and that's correct. So the situation that I have at this point is that I have a problem, they do not have a problem, and they are not going to help me. So what did I do then? I said, okay, but you know what? I cannot install any software there, but I can run any software that I want. And you will not be able to stop me from running any software, because part of my job is actually writing software, testing this software, and running this software. Which means that you have this security breach already, even though I cannot install a Notepad++ on my own computer, okay? And what the situation is right now? I have a problem, and they have a problem, okay? They are not stupid people. They know about the problem very well. It's just that I'm making the problem more visible, but that's not enough. Now let's align those two problems into a single solution. So if me staying with my machine on the company's network is a problem, how about removing all the developers from the Office network? Why are we even in the Office network? Do we have any shared resources? So then we start cooperating, and it turns out that actually the only shared resource between the developers and the business side is the production server. But the production server has got to be very, very secure, and there are different ways for securing the production server. And then I'm presenting this from my corporate laptop, and I have no Windows included at all. I just have Linux being 17, right? I had the problem, they had the problem. We have aligned our problems and the solution for that, and then we achieved that, okay? So this is what you do when the other party doesn't want to cooperate initially. Now, the third one is the body language. And you probably heard a lot about body language, but picture this. You are with your sweetheart in a very dark room, very, very close to each other. She leans towards you, and in a very soft and sexy voice, she says, "You're an idiot." Should you get offended? Come on, guys. I don't know how it works for girls, but the first time I've ever heard this, I knew I shouldn't be offended, okay? And later on, I found out that this is nothing special, actually. A lot of girls, this is the way a lot of girls say, "I love you," actually. "You're an idiot," in a soft voice, okay? But imagine that you got this through the email. "You're an idiot." Period, right? All hell breaks loose. And the lesson here is that the channel of communication is very, very important. And the easiest thing, sending an asynchronous email, is actually the worst. And there is a lot of wars and a lot of misunderstandings all over the world about a single email, okay? It's better to use chat and video, and the best thing is about face-to-face. And when you understand this, then you can make your decisions based on how important they are and choose the proper channel. And for really important stuff, get the face-to-face. I'll give an example for that. We were doing refactoring in Poland, and at some point during our refactoring, an email came from Riga, actually, that we should stop at this point, definitely stop whatever we're doing, not do it anymore, and wait till they decide what to do with us. And we were like crushed. Okay, maybe perhaps we didn't explain what we want to do, so we have to explain this now. So I'm sitting there with the team. I'm not writing this email alone. We are sitting there with the team, and we are writing this email all together. Then the only girl that we had as a programmer who verifies the email, because she's got the most empathy, so she's like the best person to do that, edits this email after us, all of us, and we send those emails, all the information, the perfect email you can write. And what happens? The most peaceful guy in this company got so pissed off at me that he actually said, I'm not going to talk with you anymore, I'm sending an email to your supervisor, and no more talking. Over. And we are devastated. What's going to happen next? And my boss did a very, very smart thing there. He said, Jakub, I know you're having problems, guys, but buy tickets for all the parties included, get them all together into a single room, invite them to Warsaw, and talk with each other, okay? And see if the problem will get solved, which is what I did. So there is Monday morning, and we are sitting there in the conference room, and the guys are on the other side, and I'm sitting there with key developers there, and we are waiting to be devastated. They are going to tell us we are completely stupid. We are going to tell them that they do not understand anything we try to explain. And we're going to go fight with each other, and I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know that week after, half of my men will leave. Okay? So this is what's going to happen. And out of the sudden, the guy that got so pissed off stands up and says, you know what? So we were thinking about your idea, and we really think that it's a really good idea, but we have a few issues with this, and we are concerned about a few things. We would like to have answers for that. And then we start talking. And out of the sudden, it turns out that we have the same perspective of the problem. And actually, both sides have already made some progress in actually answering all those questions that are around. And at the end of the day, in the evening, we have everything solved. It's like we have complete support from them. And we understand they are not stupid guys, they're much smarter than we are, actually. So the cooperation is much, much better. And this is only because of one face-to-face meeting. There was a war started through the email, and peace signed through the face-to-face meeting. So do not ignore that. When you're making any kind of important communication you have, move it over to the left, okay? If something is really important, even if you are in a distributed company in many countries, and it pays a lot of money to actually get all the guys there, it makes sense to make a face-to-face meeting. So, all right. So the next chapter is about organizing things, because you're a manager after all. Tell me this, what is more important? System architecture vision document, or how people are split into teams, or where your desk is located? So who's saying system architecture vision document? Raise your hands up. Nobody. Who says how people are split into teams? That's you. Okay, 1/3. Where your desk is located? A few people, the rest is sitting, right? Okay, so picture this. There is a law. This is called Conway's law, that organizations which design systems are constrained to produce designs which are copies of the communication structure of these organizations. Which means that if you take your whole company all together and you will ask them to design the system, the architecture you're going to get is going to be the copy of the structure of the company itself. Which explains why so many ivory tower architects create so much bullshit. Because they are in an ivory tower, right? Completely alone, apart from everyone else. But now think about this. You can turn around this law, and you will have this. Your team structure will override any architecture you have. Which means that when you have teams designed, right, if the architecture does not support those teams, and the teams are fighting against the architecture to get something done, they will change the architecture into something that corresponds to what they actually, how they are structured, or they will get out. And the conclusion from this is also that small teams, and I'm talking about 5 people per team, actually it's a very good situation to implement microservices because it's the easiest way to do something very, very productive. There are a lot of technical challenges there. Don't think about that this is a silver bullet. It's not. But this is how it works. Now, how about where your desk is located? Take a look at this picture. This is the kind of like when I left university. I finished graduated from university, and this is like we were sitting. And some companies still have this kind of setup. Who's got this kind of setup at the company? When you have a wall behind your back, and everybody is sitting to the center. You? Okay. This is called fat setup. This is called fat setup because it's got many advantages. For example, you can code 8 hours per day. Okay? Nobody's going to intervene. You can have a lot of privacy. You can search for a new job, for example. And also, you can play games. I don't know if you guys play O game or any other games, but there's a lot of good web browser games that you can play for years. And you pay for it. Isn't that perfect, right? Now, the disadvantage of this situation is that you do not have a team. You really do not have a team. Why? Because a designated group of people is not a team. A team is a group of people that work together on a common goal. So when you have a stand-up and nobody is interested in what everybody else is saying, this is because you do not have a team. They are probably working on different things. Like, yeah, I got this feature, you got that feature, he's got this feature. There is not a team there, okay? And how about this? This is much more common right now. Who's got this kind of setup at the company? Come on. Yeah, most of the people. Right. This is the most popular setup right now. It's not a bad setup. It's called aisle setup because it's like an aisle in the middle, right? And it's got some advantages because if you trust the guy on the right side, you got some privacy and you can watch even some porn, right? The guy in the middle is probably in the worst scenario, right? But the bad part. The bad situation with this is that if you need, there is not a single team here, there are actually 2 teams. Because if you need to get up to help the other guy, to try for this, I'm not going to do that. Okay? So the real team setup is this. And why is it? Well, first of all, because to help the other guy or to do pair programming, I just have to lean to the other side, right? Or just move my chair and I'm done. Or turn around, and I'm there. I can see your computer. You have a problem. Oh, look at your code. This is a stupid mess there. I can help you, right? This is also a self-controlling system, which means that every one of us has got time when he's got to check his own mail, or he's got in a chat with his girlfriend or boyfriend, and now there is a war at home there, and he needs those half an hour to get things sorted. Otherwise, he's got no place to return to. Or he's got to, I don't know, watch cats on the internet or funny movies, whatever. And it's okay. The team decides how much of this is okay or not, because some guys take this to extreme level and do nothing to watch cats all day, right? And if you have a setup like this, you cannot hide this. Which means that if other guys are really working really hard and you are watching cats all day, that's not going to last long. They are going to kill you. So this is also self-motivating culture, okay? Why? Because when we are working, what happens a lot? One of the developers says, look at this sheet, whoa, it's incredible. And everybody looks around, looks over his shoulder and whoa, that's really nice. That's a nice heart you have there. Now let's clean it up. Or that's a really interesting solution. I didn't think about that. Or this is a beautiful piece of code. And when you hear those things and you can see that the other guys are doing this, then at some point you say, yeah, now I want to say that. I want to call them and say, come over, look at this. This is beautiful, right? So this is self-motivating culture, and this is an open culture. Now, the disadvantage of this, there is no porn included, and I have no solution for that, sorry. You have to watch porn at home. Now, the interesting part is that neither of those things is more important than the other. The thing is that all these 3 things have got to go together, because they are interconnected. If they do not go together, then you will fight against the infrastructure that you have. And I'm talking about the organizational infrastructure, okay? you're going to have bad time, okay? So don't do this. You have to have all those things all together, which means that even if you are an architect, you probably have got to like inspire people to set up their desk right, or to get into management or get to talk with those guys to set the teams right, because otherwise there will be problems. And this is actually the problems that we have. Sorry? Yes?
I have a question. Isn't this actually a little bit of treating the symptoms, not the cause? Because Raymond previously spoke about distributed teams and the way too much phone time when you were sitting at home. So it doesn't really depend on your desk configuration. So isn't this a little bit just dealing with the symptoms, not the root cause?
With the symptoms? Okay, so I'll give you more insight into our situation. When we started, we had one single big monolithic application, okay? Or actually two of them, but that doesn't matter much. And we had IT department in 3 countries. Now it's IT department in the 5 countries. And you've got people in 5 different countries who have a very hard time communicating with each other because you don't have all the people distributed completely. You have the bus setup, which is they are collocated, except for the other guys, which are also collocated. And so you have different teams and different groups. And you have a very low bandwidth of communication between them. And at this point, if all of them have to work on the same code base, this is going to get ugly. Okay? And if the bigger the code base, the worse it is. So actually, what you want to have is at least each country working on something different. But you're building a system for a single company. How can you do that? Well, you can build 5 systems. You can split this. There is something called bounded context. There is the whole thing about architecture, domain-driven design. There's a lot of solutions to that. But this is exactly why you have to set it up this way. And also, even if you set it up like this, and then you still think that those 100 developers located in a single country can work on the same thing, no, they can't. Okay? These 100 developers divided by 5 give you 20 teams. There are 20 teams there. And there will be a lot of problems unless you actually have an architecture which will support the fact that you have 20 teams. Or maybe you have to change those teams to improve the situation and stay with the architecture. Okay? So I don't think this is healing the symptoms. If you are completely distributed, that's another story, because at the very beginning you think like, okay, now I have one single team because everybody is distributed in their own home, watching their own porn, right? So the situation is really, really good. However, the problem is that there is a limit for number of people in a team. If you have 5 people, it's going to work. If you have 7 people, it's going to work. If you got 12 people, it's not going to work. And at 20, it breaks. If you read about extreme programming, for example, they said you cannot do extreme programming in teams of more than 20 people. It's not possible anymore. Why? Because actually you don't have a team. You cannot build teams that big. It doesn't work. Okay? So from my perspective, the answer to your question is this is not only symptoms.
No, it's more about. I'm thinking about. I understand the rationale behind what you explained. I'm thinking about more about the specifically the people sitting at work not doing their work. Like desk configuration will not change that. Desk configuration may bring them in the teams, as you said.
Well, I would disagree because I don't know if you guys, but I'm sometimes just sitting at the work, not actually working. Sorry, my brain does like a brain fart and doesn't work anymore this day. And the only way to actually activate it is to work with other people. And if I just turn around and see other guys and they are working on something interesting, then maybe I can move my chair over and just help them. Or maybe I can ask somebody for help, because I'm not going to get anything done. Maybe shit it done, right? Because it's hard. Anyways, so I would still disagree. But as I said, this may not be true for you. Okay? These are my cases. Okay, so next thing, decision making, because you are a manager, you're making decisions, right? So the first thing, because I never had like a management school or anything like that. At the university, I wasn't interested in management at all. At the Warsaw University of Technology, I wasn't also interested, even though it was a military institute, which means that there is a lot of command probably there. But friends of mine who are actually studying management told me that this is correct, and that managers are taught how to give orders or how to explain tasks that you have to do in the way that you will be able to do it. but never to explain why those tasks have got to be done. And nobody cares about this. And thus, people think that some decisions are stupid because nobody explains it to them. And there is even some sense behind it. Because if you think about it, and there's actually research about this, when you are making decisions on this level, you are often not qualified to make decisions on a higher level, on a lower level, because you don't have enough information. I can think that I can optimize GC because I used to optimize GC one time, many years ago, in Java 6, right? In JDK 6. But to be honest, if I was making decisions right now, it would take me a long time before I was actually updated to this. And here's an example. A Russian aircraft, jet fighter actually, enters Polish airspace. And the news, because this is what news do, right? They go over to the street and ask everyone, what should we do about it? And when they ask everyone, everybody has got an opinion about it. Everyone. And the opinions are usually, let's invade Russia, let's shoot down the airplane, send them over with the head of a dead fish or something, right? This level of competence is there, right? But everybody knows what should be done, okay? And if you ever played any strategy games, you know that one single airplane entering your airspace means that you have to think about what are your army, what is the other army, what is the general political situation, what are your goals, long-term goals, short-term goals, what are your allies, the allies of the other party, and what is the situation altogether. So what you as an engineer should answer to this question would be, I need to have access, give me access to information, all the security information, all the kind of information from the country and from the partners of the country and all the diplomats and all the spies, everything, and give me half a year to learn all of that, and then I'll have a good answer to this question. It may be not the best answer to this question, but it will be based on something. It will be based on good information. And because on a different level, you do not have this kind of information, you can have an opinion. But quite often, it sounds like completely stupid to people who actually know what they're doing. Which is why a lot of managers do not bother about explaining why. Okay? They tell you to do this, not why you should do this. And it doesn't work with developers, because developers, just like probably most of the developers like I did, at my age at least, started by reading this book and started about thinking that they are going to be hackers and they're going to hack the system. So what should we do? Well, engineers are built to solve problems. So throw a problem at them, describe all the constraints, and let them find a solution. And have your solution ready in case they will not be interested in actually finding a solution. And this is actually what I do. Every week on Thursday, I have breakfast. And I'm buying sandwiches for other people. And I'm giving them news. And they are updating everybody else. They are updating basically between teams. And then, if I have a decision to make that will impact all the developers, that is important, I explain the constraints that we have, the problem that we have, and then I ask them for an opinion and for a better solution. And I usually tell them also that I was thinking about it, and I have this idea that this may work. Do you have anything better? And quite often, they come over with a better solution than I have. Okay? Simple as that. Now, there's another thing about it, quite interesting, is that when you do this like this, then you will be easier accepted by developers. Why? Well, this is about fairness, being fair. And when you make all the result in public, on whatever decision that you are making, or you're making, or delegating to other people, and if you include all the parties, and if you listen to everybody that has got something to say, even if those people do not have enough information to actually make the correct decision, then these people will at least agree. Why? Because they will understand why the decision was made, and they will accept the fact that it was based on facts and not on you being completely stupid. Okay? That makes a big difference when we are talking about feeling fair and trusting the other parties. Right? So another thing that if we are talking about being accepted, then it helps to be a smart leader. Okay? So another question for you: how to be fair and smart? It's very, very simple. Just don't be unfair and stupid. Why? Because developers do not expect you to be Albert Einstein. They do not expect you to be very, very smart. If you were smart, you would still be programming. Now you are a manager, okay? What they expect of you is that you will not make stupid decisions and you will not be unfair. That's all they need, okay? They will handle everything else. So how to not be unfair and stupid? You need trust, and you build trust, and you earn trust. You have to earn trust. There is no other way to do that. There is transparency, and I believe there's a lot of companies right now that are completely transparent to their own employees, including the salaries, including bonuses, and the money that the stakeholders are making, okay? So I'm not going to go into that direction and explain it to you because that would take longer, and you probably already know that. There's this fairness that we talked about, how to achieve it, it's simple, and there's cooperation. And cooperation, we probably all know about the cooperation as well, because there are just few simple things. You have to always give power together with the responsibility, empower people to do stuff. The most frustrating thing at work is when somebody expects something from you and you have no chance of achieving this because you have no power to do that, right? And this, we get this by creating self-organized teams. Who's got self-organized teams at work? I'm sorry for the half of you. And with the self-organized teams, the funny thing is that everything about self-organized teams is also described in the book that I mentioned first, Management 3.0. It's really good. However, the thing I'm going to talk to you about is team leader position, right? How does it happen? So there are some teams that do not have team leaders, and my teams I'm trying to always have them set up so they have a team leader between them. But what does a team leader do? What does it mean that you have a self-organized team and a team leader? Who makes the decision, the team or the team leader, right? The first thing about the team leader is that you don't really choose the team leader. You find the team leader. How? You find the natural leader that people gravitate towards. And you just make sure that he knows he's the guy. Because I'm going to give this guy 3 things to do extra, apart from what he's already doing, which is inspiring other guys and writing good code. And those 3 things are this: watching for interpersonal problems. Why? Well, that's because sometimes it happens that when you have a team of 4 and 2 people start fighting, what are the other 2 do? What do they do? The other 2. The natural thing is that when those guys start fighting, you move back. It's not my job, it's not my fault, sorry. I don't want to be involved into this, just polarizing the whole structure, not saying hello anymore to those guys. It's going to end in a massive bloodshed, and I want to be as far away as possible. And the problem is that the team itself cannot solve this problem, because sometimes the only solution to this problem is actually to take one of those fighting guys and move him to another team. Because sometimes the characters are conflicting with each other, and you cannot have cooperation between those 2 guys. So the team leader is responsible at my teams for watching for interpersonal problems and just coming over to me and saying, these 2 guys are not going too well together. And I can just find out the place for them and move one there, or do something like this. And then the problem will be gone. But the team itself, even though it self-organizes, cannot solve that problem. The next thing is breaking impasse. If you got 4 people, and 2 developers want to go into the left direction, and 2 developers want to go into the right direction, and they are all very smart people. Which solution is good? Usually both. If there are very smart people, usually it doesn't matter really which road we take. As long as we take some road, because what I've seen is that sometimes there are teams that are staying in this kind of conflict, and we have to go into the left direction or the right direction. Well, we have a conflict there, we cannot agree with each other, so let's do something completely different. Let's go sport. And nothing happens, okay? So at this point, team leader should be able to break the impasse and say, okay, it's 2 versus 2. We stopped talking with each other. We're going this direction because I'm the leader, because it doesn't matter. And that's enough.
I'm sorry, are you talking about some kindergarten or about teams of self-organized adult people or professionals?
Yes.
Because it sounds like, okay, we are not going anywhere, because I like my solution and that person likes his solution. it's a matter of like self-organizing, so finding a common way, common solution.
Yes.
And so it's totally fine for self-organized teams.
I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because you can have completely professional, very well experienced guys and have a kindergarten. Okay? Developers, I don't know about system admins, for example, or security infrastructure, but developers are like big kids, okay? And we often do not develop our social skills very much, and when we start fighting with each other, we'll stay there, even though we should be mature enough to actually solve this kind of problems. But that doesn't happen. And when it doesn't happen, the team stops working, and I need somebody to watch for this situation.
Yeah, but
that's all.
this is, again, it can be solved checking up on how are you moving towards the goal, because everybody knows the goal. Team knows the goal, and so if they stop on some conflict, they are not working towards reaching the goal. So this is like, okay,
Yeah.
alarm sounds, and you have to solve it, and it's not that difficult actually.
Well, true. However, what I have noticed, I mean, what I've experienced in that situation was that, okay, so the team was not reaching the goal, and actually the burn down chart, whatever you use to do that, or you just see that we are going nowhere, okay? And the project is going to get longer and longer and longer, and then they are so frustrated that they start searching for another job, and this is their solution. So from the perspective of a single person, okay, I need to somehow break the impasse, talk with the other guys, or let's just find another job. Okay? This happens. And this is why I need those guys to actually watch for this. Now the question is, because this goes very well together with a veterite. Veterite is when those team leaders are usually the most experienced guys or girls. And these are the people that other people gravitate towards because they are very, very smart. And at some point, the team, if the team is self-organized as a democracy, can have a situation when you have 5 junior guys and 1 team leader, senior guy. And the junior guys will tell you, oh, you know what, this test-driven development thing doesn't really work. Let's just drop it. Let's just drop all the tests. We'll stay with the integration tests, okay? And that's it. And the only guy who knows what is going to happen after half a year of not writing any tests and staying with the integration tests that you already have is the single guy. And he should have the veterite to say, you know what, this is completely stupid. And he should be able to actually convince all the junior guys, but it doesn't happen, and sometimes it may not happen. And to tell you the truth, those 2 things, how often do they happen? During the last year, I've asked the guys, just a second, I've asked those guys, whenever they use the veterite, okay, to tell me about it. They never tell me about it, and I think they never used the veterite. They were always able to actually solve the kind of conflicts. But I want to have this mechanism because I do not have enough time to watch every single team all the time and help them with that when they have this kind of an impasse.
Okay, but that veterite contradicts with the thing you brought up previously, that I have doubts and stuff like that. So, okay, it's like you're having like double standards or something
No,
like that.
which standard do you mean?
Okay, so if you say in a meeting like, okay, this idea is stupid because of my experience and stuff as a senior guy.
Yeah.
And then those youngsters can actually contradict you, and they say, okay, you're a stupid old fuck and we don't believe you.
Yeah, and you are probably a bad guy there, right?
Yeah.
As a leader, right? But I'm not that guy. I'm setting those guys. I'm setting those teams. So it may happen that this guy will not be able to do his job very well. For some people who are natural team leaders, team leading is also a new exercise. They have to learn that. And before they learn that, this situation may happen. And I have seen those situations happen. And projects going way beyond the schedule, like my talk right now, just because these things happened. And I want somebody to watch over. And the only person who can watch over is the person inside the team. So I choose the team leader to do that. I could do it with a different person, but actually the team leader is usually when he knows that he's a team leader, has got enough balls to actually do this and not just put his head into the sand and just hide from the problems.
Yeah, but this
I'm sorry, can you please wait?
Guys, let's go on.
Okay.
This demonstrates how you actually solve those problems. You are a good example in this case. Do you agree, Jakub? How do you solve now with Jakub this problem?
Guys, come on, let's wait questions.
Well, let's go back afterwards, okay? After the rest. So my plan minimum. What we are talking. What do I mean? Like, okay, so you know that the team leader can do those things for my teams, and my plan minimum for the teams is this. I want to have retrospectives, and I want to have retrospectives because when you drop retrospectives, you never have a chance to improve the organization, the structure of the team. The team improves here. They have action points. They talk about what is bad and what is good. And I have seen too many teams going for years without even ever talking about what is bad. Okay? So I need them to do retrospectives. I need them to do standards because standards are just great, just like showering every day. It's just beautiful, right? It creates a motivation loop and it spreads information, all the good things, although you have to be good at stand-ups and good at retrospectives to keep them short. And the rest is up to the team. So, like for example, we started with sprints, and we started with 2-week sprints, then we moved to 1-week sprints, then I don't care anymore. And I mean, like, all the teams themselves decide what's going on, and I know that some of them go with 1 week, some of them go with 2 weeks, some of them, all of them organize themselves the way they need to do it, okay? And there is a lot of knowledge about why it's actually the best system is to allow people to self-organize. But I'll leave it in the book because we will never finish. So the last thing about the decision making is that you have to understand that you do not have to have just single decision making model. And you can have different models for different problems. So for example, hiring is the kind of thing that everybody should do. Okay? So we have democracy in that whenever somebody is being hired, he's doing homework. And everybody can review this homework and say what he thinks, give feedback about this homework. Okay? And I also delegate these things, which means that I do not hire myself. I'm not making the decisions. Why? Why do I not make those decisions? Because these guys are mainly going to work with the other guys. They should feel fine with them, and they should search for the best people. Okay? Review, for example. This is also democracy. You're reviewing the code. Everybody can review the code. If they got something to say, let's learn from that. That problem, meritocracy. Let's find the smartest guys who actually wrote a book about this technical problem, and let's ask them. Let's make them decide about it. Operating system. Sorry, Microsoft. It should be complete anarchy. Everybody should choose whatever he wants. Okay? Why? Because it makes sense. You'll be happy if you have what you need on your own computer. And the new office design, this is complete feudalism because I like designing stuff. And you can make it like this. Different stuff, you're delegating to different systems of decision making. And then the sad truth. Whatever is going to happen, remember this. When you are a manager, one thing is going to happen. You will have end-of flow. As a developer, what I like the most about my job, is when I sit down there and after 4 hours, I come up with a solution and the code and it works. And it's 4 hours later and I don't feel those 4 hours. I had flow there, okay? When you're a manager, it is never going to happen again. That's very, very sad. Why? Because you will have meetings all day, all the time. All the time you will have meetings, depending on how many people you have, probably. Because if you have 4, maybe you'll be able to code with so many people. But if you have 30 or 160, no, sorry, you'll have meetings all the time. So the thing is how to keep yourself motivated. How to not get, on the first presentation we've seen those motivation charts, right? And the motivation was dropping at the beginning of every job and until the end, actually. And so you need to keep yourself motivated. And to keep yourself motivated, it makes sense to actually make goals because when you are developing, you have like finished pieces of work. You do something, you create it, you code it, it works. When you are a manager, you don't have that anymore. So you need a different way of measuring, actually, whether you are making any progress. And the first step to measuring anything is to actually understand what do you want to achieve. And then you will have motivation from that. And the other thing is that, yeah, sure, great, that's all perfect, but I want to code too. And are there any ways to actually have a large company, no, not a large company, a medium-sized company, let's say 60 people, 60 developers, and be a manager there and still be able to code? Because there'll be so many meetings, you won't have time. There actually are solutions to that. And these I have not implemented yet. These are taken from the companies that I work with, that I worked for, that our friends of mine are actually managing, and they have great success with that. So the first solution is pair management. Just like pair programming, you can do pair management. It works the same way. And actually a lot of startups, because making a startup is hard. So a lot of startups were created by 2 people or 3 people. And you can lead the whole company for all those years with 2 people. No problem with that. But you need to have somebody, but if you're a single person, find somebody you can trust. Because the most important thing about the other person that you are going to get in pair management is that you have to have 100% of trust and 100% of understanding. The technical knowledge is not important there. The management knowledge is not as important there as 100% trust and understanding. But in corporations, that won't work. Because most of the corporations have like a hierarchical structure. And they need to have, because, I don't know, they make this fun little diagrams in some kind of a Microsoft tool, sorry, Microsoft. But and in this tool only allows them to put a single person. Like in Jira, for example, you cannot have a task assigned to 2 people. It's complete bullshit. You cannot do pair programming, right? From this perspective. So you have to have a single person. You have to be alone there. What you can do is you can hire a right hand, hire somebody, and tell the rest of the management, this is my right hand. This is the person that is going to be on my level in terms of, okay, I'm responsible for everything, but this person has got the same power level and can make decisions when I'm not there, for example, or when I don't want to be there. And then, in theory, you have 50% of time for yourself, and for example, for coding, right? In theory. Now, a third solution to that is actually to create such a culture inside of the company that people will not feel that there are managers there and they will take over about stuff and I'm just coding here, but to create this kind of a culture that people think about, okay, so now we have a problem because we run out of coffee and we need to have it solved. And it's stupid because it happens every week. Let's create a software that will actually go to the internet shop and click the button and pay the money and get us or let's just find a company we can sign an agreement with, they will bring us coffee. And there are companies when those normal developers think in this perspective. They have the culture of actually doing something aside from their normal day job, just because they feel part of the company and they feel that this is their company. But this is difficult because this is about creating culture. And my favorite actually solution to all of this is M&A, mixed martial arts. Use all of them. Create the culture. Hire the right-hand guy. Have the second person and do pair management with them. Whatever works. All those things will help you actually on achieving a little bit of time to do some coding. And with time, this is the funny thing that I have noticed. What do developers do when they have too much free time? Have you ever, I'm asking developers for you, have you ever had too much free time at work? 2 guys. Probably you never watch porn, but from my perspective, a developer always has something to do because there are so many books I have never read, so many GitHub projects I have never had time to take my hands on. I got a list of things I want to do, and it's only growing. Only, all right? I take things from there, but it's only growing, right? So developers will always have something to do. How about people do not code? How about Scrum Masters? What do Scrum Masters do when everything's done?
Read a lot.
Read a lot. Right. Good Scrum Masters do that. But then, this is just a theory. Then they need to practice, right? So what do Scrum Masters have to do to be able to practice?
Attend certifications.
Oh, well, this is not practice. They actually have to have more meetings, okay? To do any kind of a job as a Scrum Master, you have to have a meeting. And to have a meeting, you have to take all those engineers who just love having meetings and have nothing else to do, and take them all together and just optimize something. So when Scrum Masters, for example, are done optimizing the real bottlenecks, they start to optimize everything else. And what do we know about optimizing? This is like a first thing you learn about optimizing. Preemptive optimization is wrong, right? You cannot just optimize everything because it doesn't make sense. Optimize the bottleneck, system runs, enough. Let's go move and do some features, right? So engineers do not work on meetings, and this is a problem. So what it means is that you have to keep your guys who are not coding occupied. Okay? Now here's the interesting part. If you keep them 100% occupied, they will never be able to innovate. Why? Because whoever you have, if you keep him 100% occupied, he will never innovate. We need time to be able to innovate. Whether this is time like, for example, an R&D day that you will do once a month, or whether this is a time that actually, you know, I just finished what I wanted and this is this library, I need to check it out because it may help us later in the work, right? You need to have some free time at work. And you have to balance this with all the people, including developers, though the developers are the least problematic here. But with Scrum Masters, product owners, all these kind of people. You have to have enough tasks so they are not destroying the system by using time of the other people, and on the other hand, enough free time to actually be able to read the book and to find out, so all of this I would like to try, but this is really important. And then maybe I will solve this bottleneck, another bottleneck that I see, okay? And this is everything. The last chapter is about soft skills, and this is the quote I think that is most representative for me and for all the other people. And those, if you cannot read it, got into computers because I enjoyed talking to machines instead of people. I actually hated people. I still hate people. Now computers are all about talking to people, right? And this is some bullshit. But unfortunately, this is how it is. So let's get better at this. Thank you very much.
I'm not missing anyone off.
No, let's just leave. Come on, anybody who wants to leave, let's go. It's very, very late. You've been very, very brave, staying so long on what is it, Tuesday, right? Thank you very much for that.
Okay, so
we can talk later on.
you can talk later, and it's time to quickly give out some presents for guys who or girls who tweeted actively. Andrew, can you give some stats and give out presents? That's it.
What are the presents? Okay, guys, just a few more seconds. Here. No. Okay. Might as well. Our previous time winner as well, Bashira.
Okay. So guys, we can discuss our topics here. And that's it for today. See you next time.